Hello, happy Friday, everybody. It's CannaTalk with Roz. I'm here. I'm actually here in Maryland, Eric. So I'm in I think I'm in Prince George County, Maryland, and at my hotel. And okay, start webinar. All right, good. So and I'm happy to be here and happy Friday to everybody. What's up, brother? How you doing?
We're good. You know, that's always my first question to you. Where in the world is
Where's
Roz?
Like, where's Waldo, right?
Yeah, that part. I hope the good folks of Maryland are taking care of our queen up there. I know I'm excited to have the conversation we're going to have today. We got some of the greatest minds in cannabis always, coming to the table. But we're also bringing people from outside entities who are trying to do good work, and that parallel between our industry and wanting to take care of our communities. There's a lot of work to be done, and we need a lot of people at the table. So I'm excited about the conversation
Absolutely.
today with some of our guests. Yeah,
absolutely. So before we do a little housekeeping, I've talked to like at least 3 people this past week. It was like, oh, I watch you and Eric every week on CannaTalk with Roz. If you're watching right now, share the video, share it. Just go down there, hit share it with your friends, because it's a powerhouse. You don't see these beautiful women here, how we're about to own it and owning this really important time. So long story short, if you guys don't know, tomorrow here in Maryland, M4MM has partnered with Vireo Health, as well as with our hosts, Ms. Hope Wiseman and Marion Main, in conjunction working with the state attorney's office. And this is why we have Ms. Jade Mathis here. And we are putting on a free expungement clinic. So ladies, welcome to CannaTalk with Roz. And I'm going to start with Dr. Paloma. Introduce yourself. Tell us who you are and what you do at Vireo.
Thank you, Roz. And this is such a pleasure. I've wanted to be on CannaTalk with Roz since I got in the industry 2 years ago. So I finally made it. Love it.
It's my pleasure. I'm humbled. So thank you for being on.
Thank you so much. My name is Dr. Paloma Layfelt. I'm a physician by training and a lifelong cannabis student and advocate. I'm the director of medical education, as well as one of the co-chairs and founders of the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Council at Vireo Health. We are a physician-led, physician-founded medical cannabis company, really priding ourselves in bringing cutting-edge technology and innovation to cannabis. We are thrilled to be sponsoring this event, working with these amazing people that are here today and some others that are off the call. And yeah, tomorrow's going to be an amazing day, and I hope to see all of you out there. Thank you.
Absolutely. Welcome, Dr. Paloma. Next we're going to go to Ms. Jade Mathis. Ms. Jade, tell us about yourself, where you are located, what you do, and just your excitement or your thoughts about tomorrow.
Hey, I'm Jade Mathis. I'm an assistant state's attorney, a fancy word for prosecutor here in Prince County, Maryland. I work in the post-trial unit. I am speaking on behalf of our state's attorney, Aisha Braveboy. So what I do is I handle the expungements. I am excited for the event tomorrow, particularly because this is something that the state's attorney really, really believes in and she's passionate about. Our office currently has about 500 applications for expungement and rotation that we are signing off on, particularly for small crimes like possession of marijuana, which a lot of them are not even legal anymore. So we are looking to expunge some of them if you have them on your record, which unfortunately hinder a lot of minorities from getting employment, from getting loans, from getting an education, from getting housing. So we are looking to help you all get that off your record and take care of those distribution and minor marijuana charges. So we look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
That's awesome. And then last but not least, we have Ms. Hope Wiseman, someone who is near and dear to my heart, who serves as our Maryland State Director. Hope, what's going on, my friend? Introduce yourself and tell everybody who does not know Hope about yourself.
Yes.
I don't think that's possible in 2020.
I know, I don't think so either, but
maybe.
And we'll put it out there. Hey, listen, because Hope, man, listen, we see you and we're so proud of you. So we know folks know who you are, but introduce yourself to people who may not know.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. My name is Hope Wiseman. I am one of the owners and founders of Marion Main, which is a medical cannabis facility in Maryland. We are, right now looking to expand and really grow our legacy as a Black, woman-owned, family-led brand. And, I'm really excited to be a to have my platform in this industry and to be able to inspire other young people and other Black people that there is a place for you in this industry. You know, I did it, so can you.
Yes.
I'm no different than anyone else. And in fact, I might even have less resources than some people. I definitely had less experience than a lot of you. So, you know, I definitely want to serve as that point of contact and that inspiration for you to get started in this industry. And I'm really excited about this event because, you know, as a Black entrepreneur in this space, we know that during the war on drugs, Black communities and the Capitol Heights community is a Black community, were targeted, and cannabis was used as a way to target these communities. So I'm excited to be able to partner with the state's attorney's office, Minorities for Medical Marijuana, Delegate Daryl Barnes, who is the chairman of the Legislative Black Caucus, and he is also a representative in our District 25, where Mary Main is located, and Vireo Health, to bring you this expungement clinic, because it's definitely a much needed opportunity. And a lot of people don't even know that they're eligible or how the process goes, or they may be intimidated by it. So we just want to kind of break down all those stereotypes and, you know, really offer a step-by-step process on how to go through it.
Absolutely. Eric, you and I both know, like, when we talk about a social justice issue, really the individuals that have been harmed by and disproportionately have been Black and brown people. And I know, Ms. Mathis J, that you can talk about the state of Maryland and how it's been our Black communities and our individuals that live in our community that have basically have these dings, they have these arrest records or for small minor possession, and just talk about how that affects people's lives, their livelihood, their, you know, just it follows them. Correct?
Yeah. You want me to speak on that real quick?
Well, yeah. I was saying E, and then I want to bring in Jade. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the things people often overlook is that just being arrested leads to such a spiral in your life and so on. The very first time that I spoke, you know, publicly as an advocate in the cannabis space, it was to talk about one of my former students who had been arrested for a dime bag on the weekend and how that just impacted the rest of his life. He was kicked out of school because he couldn't get financial aid anymore. He ended up, you know, trying to get job after job and not being able to find jobs, and then ended up back in the system. And you know, to this day, now he has 4 kids and he wants to better his life. But, you know, the opportunities that are available to him because of what happened so long ago are just very, you know, few in between. And so I think it's so important that, you know, as an industry comes online, that we do, you know, the work of restoring those individuals who were harmed when it was illegal. And so I'm just, you know, this work goes even beyond, expungements. There's so much more work still down the road to go, but this is definitely, you know, the starting place. This should be a no-brainer for this industry.
Absolutely. Jay, I know, and the question is for you as well. And then also, Jay, on the back end of it, tell people what expunging really means, like from a legal perspective. What does that mean, and how's that, what's the impact for a person?
Absolutely. So I'll give a little background. So Prince George's County is about 64% African American, and over 80% of our cases are African American defendants or African American individuals that are charged and convicted. So that right there should let you know of, how disproportionate the numbers are, and most of them are drug offenses, and they're smaller drug offenses.
Yeah.
What we're trying to do with expungements is, in Maryland now, anything under 10 grams of marijuana is not illegal anymore. You can't charge the person with it anymore, right? So now all of those individuals have those charges on their records, whether they're guilty, whether it's not guilty, whether it was given a probation before judgment. So when someone puts your name in, here we have a case search. They have them in different jurisdictions. They're called different things. We have a judiciary case search. Most employers, when they look to hire someone, they'll go and put their name in a case search, or they have a background, an official background that would run the background. And guess what pops up? Either that conviction pops up, or even the fact that you were charged with that. You could have been charged with it. It could have been not guilty. It could have been what's called which means we dropped the charges. It could have been a number of things, and it could have happened 10 or 20 or 30 years ago, but this is still up, right? This is still showing up in public records. This is still showing up when you go for financial aid. This is still showing up when you go for housing, but it's either no longer legal or you were never convicted of it. So what we do in expungement is that we file the paperwork, we put the information in, we send it to the legislative up in the head of the capital of Maryland. And what they do is they review it, and we've already signed off on it, which means that the state's attorney's office is not going to contest it. We've already agreed to it. Within 90 to 180 days, they will process the paperwork and you go with a free, clean record. That will not show up anymore. Your name won't show up anymore in case search, so you can go on about your life.
Wow, wow. So when you think about this and doing this, why is it for some people, if you don't have this free expungement clinic, why is it so expensive to start this process for just a layman person off the street?
Because most people they don't even know, number one, what the expungement is, or they don't know the expungement rules or the laws. And they changed, like the laws of marijuana possession just changed in Maryland in 2018. So they change every couple of years based on the legislature. And a normal person would not know that, a person who's not in a legal field. So those individuals have to go get an attorney, which is probably going to be over $1,000 for an expungement case. The attorney has to look at the information. The attorney has to file the paperwork, which is going to cost more. The attorney's going to have to talk to the state's attorney's office and appear. So all of that is money, all of that is dollars. An average person would not know, and they wouldn't know the numbers. So the fact that you can come and get this advice right away within 5 or 10 minutes without paying anything, and we fill out the paperwork for you. An attorney, you have to get them to fill out the paperwork for you and pay for that, and then they would have to file it, and you would have to pay for it to be filed. We're able to give you fee waivers if you aren't able to afford the $35 or whatever your financial situation is. It depends on your situation. We are able to do a waiver for that as well. So that's why it's so important to do clinics.
Jade, let me ask you in terms of, many people, you're right. It's so expensive just to hire an attorney to go through this process. So that could be a barrier. What about the fines that people come out of jail with? I tell people all the time, they don't realize that folks come out of jail with a bill, and if you can't pay that bill, then that means you can't get your license back. You can't get, again, access to housing, to some of the other things, basic, like basic things that you would need access to, you can't get access to.
Absolutely. So yeah, with a lot of charges, especially minor drug or marijuana charges, there's also fees attached to that. So you have to pay the fees, and then there's court costs. Court costs can be over $100. You have to pay that. With a lot of cases too, you have to pay probation and parole. So you have to pay them whatever that amount is. They assess that amount. Restitution, you may have to pay that. So you have to pay all of those fees. And a lot of times you're on probation until those fees are paid. And you can be on probation for 18 months. You can be on probation for 5 years. And if you are not paying these fees, you are violating your probation. So you will have a violation of probation charge, in which you will have to come back in court for that and get either a public defender or a private attorney and keep coming back to show that can pay it or why you cannot pay it. And if at the end of your probation, they decide to let you off in 5 years when you're supposed to be off, then those fees will go to collection. So they'll be deemed uncollectible, and it'll still go to collection agencies, and then it'll still be on your record.
Man, it's a lot. Oh my gosh. Hold that thought, Jade, because man, it's so much that I'm telling y'all,
that's deep.
It's deep. It's deep. And think about this from a cannabis perspective. And this is why I want to bring Dr. Paloma in, because as a owner and as maybe not owner, but a principal of a cannabis organization, when did you guys know that it was centric a part of your business to make sure that you focused on the social justice issues that related to legalization?
That's a great question. One of my main roles at Vireo is speaking to other physicians about medical cannabis, because we weren't taught about it in med school. The first thing they ask is, why weren't we taught about it in medical school? And that's because of the war on drugs. That's because of the targeting of Black and brown communities, that this is a Schedule I substance, while we have oral opiates, Schedule II, more accessible, killing 113 people every day. How many people a day does cannabis kill? 0. Yet it is not. I look at all my medical textbooks. We don't have anything about cannabis except as a drug of abuse. Still, this is the same plant that people are buying legally on the West Coast every day, but we have people, tens of thousands of people being arrested in the state of Maryland every day. So there is no reason why anybody that is speaking about medical cannabis should not be talking about the social justice aspect of cannabis while they do so. I don't care if it's a patient. I don't care if it's a physician. This is something that we need to right the wrongs that have been done for over a century now. This legislation that was put into effect in 1937 and solidified by the Nixon and Reagan administration in the United States is still happening and affecting people's lives today. And like Eric said, these are lifelong sentences these people are carrying with them. It is frankly disgusting that we still have this legislation.
So I want you guys to know that we got Mary Main, Hope Wiseman, we got Dr. Paloma here. These are both two licensed retailers in the state of Maryland. That when you, and then so the same question for you, Hope, when did you know that as a businesswoman, you were going to make sure that there was some type of social give back or something that you want to do and make sure there was a core part of you running your business, like doing this expungement clinic for tomorrow?
Yeah. Well, it was, I mean, this was a pillar of our company from its inception. And that's mainly because we're a group ourselves that needs help, that needs people to reach back and help us. So as we begin to create, positions for ourselves and create a platform for ourselves, we want to be able to do the same. So, and also the fact that it's family owned, that's who we are as a family. Yeah. And I was always taught to help others, and that there's more reward in giving back to others. You'll get it back tenfold in the way that you truly desire, So I think for me, it's been a pillar of our company. It's one of our 6 P's that we have on our website, philanthropy. We are focused on doing that, and it shows kind of through things that we've done historically through our business. We've always done kind of large community events. We've done events where we give out free. We pay the $50 fee to get a Maryland medical card, and we kind of walk you through that process. We signed up over 500 people one day.
Hope, I know I want to keep the focus on the expungements and everything, but when we talk to other cannabis business owners and operators, it's always like, well, this is going to cost me money. How does it make me money? And can you speak to that effort in terms of not necessarily that it makes you money, but you get some level of return on investment through the social impact. Can you talk about, the value that your community focused and engagement has brought to Mary and Main?
There's a whole, that's a whole business model, and corporate social responsibility is a big part of a lot of large enterprises. So the fact that there are so many business owners in cannabis that think that way, I'm like, that's so just backwards, but it also shows kind of like, and I hate to use this word because I don't want to seem like I'm ragging on anyone else, but like almost like corruption in like who they are, like just ethically or morally, like we're not the same. Because like I said, for me, I'm definitely a businesswoman, guys. I'm not trying to lose money. I'm not trying to spend too much money doing things that I really can't afford or anything like that. However, there's just no reason that you say you can't afford something and like your CEO is getting paid $1 million a year. Like you can afford it, I remember when I used to cheer for the Falcons, I used to be a cheerleader and I didn't make any money. I made we got paid like $100 a game. And I was like, man, Matt Ryan could not get paid for one day and they could pay us more than we make in a whole season for one day. And like, those are the types of sacrifices that we make as a company. When we first got open, and I think we can do that because we're starting small and we're implementing this in our culture now before we get big. It's a big corporate strategy because it'll be embedded in us by then. So it won't be like difficult to introduce. And I think that's why a lot of companies are having a hard time being able to do that. And we're small, we started this way, so we're going to be able to grow that way. And, I just think we're unique in that. And there's just not a lot of companies who are starting in this, with that in mind. So I'm excited to be able to implement that culture.
Yeah. Hey, I got a quick question for Jade. Right now, state attorney's offices around the country, you guys are getting a bit of a bad rap. Let's just say it, what it is. But, talk about how your state attorney came to the position that she's in. Because again, we're seeing such a racial culture right now come to a head in our country. And, you know, taking a position to be involved with expungements and so on isn't always, you know, popular. So how did she get to, you know, where she is in her thinking, I guess?
Absolutely. So one thing I admire about the state's attorney is that I was there under both administrations, and I do admire both of them. But Ms. Braveway came in, and her platform was already progressive prosecution, and that's what prosecutors are starting to do. You have Kushner in Philadelphia that's doing that. You have Mosby in D.C. You have the state's attorney of Chicago that's doing that. So you have a lot of progressive prosecutors, and we're lucky enough to have one of them here. So that was her platform, is that she wanted to come up with alternatives. And even we have a program called Back on Track, and it's alternative to incarceration for drug dealers. And it was actually started by Kamala Harris when she was the Attorney General of San Francisco. And now we have it in at the state's attorney's office, and we've diverted over 30 individuals who have possession with intent to distribute convictions into a diversion program in which we paid for them to get an education, and we had them do community service, and now they have clean records. We gave them immediate expungements up front. So she's very, very progressive. She's very smart on crime, and that is why she really believes in expungements, and we're able to be so hands-on. I don't it, but a little bit more hands-on and empathetic and understanding than some other state's attorney's office would be, or the typical state's attorney's office. We have a very progressive prosecutor and state's attorney.
That's awesome.
Man, that program sounds like one we need to have a pipeline into the cannabis industry, because I've been saying for the longest time, we've been running cannabis businesses for a long time. They've just been illegal. And, you know, right. The skill set, the knowledge base is there. It's there. It's there.
And not only knowledge base though, but also everybody's not going to be a business owner. And this goes back to Vireo. And Dr. Paloma, if you could talk about how many locations of Vireo, I mean, where you guys licensed, and how important it is for us to do this, so that there's some states that even if you want to hire, if someone had that on their record, you can't hire. And just talk about how important it is for you to be able to extend an opportunity to someone if they get their record cleared.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is why we need more Marion Mains in all of the states that we're in. And you know, I think that the reason that we partnered with M4MM is because immediately it was not that we're just going to do this project, is that we're going to do this project and replicate it as many times as we can, because we need this is overdue by 10 years at least, right? So yes. 5 core markets we're in. We're actually based in Minnesota. I'm here in Maryland, born and raised. So Maryland, Minnesota, New Mexico, Arizona, and New York right now are our 5 main markets that we're in. And again, Maryland is unique in that we have a state's attorney general's office that jumps right on board, but it's much more difficult. We tried to do these clinics in other states. And again, I really hope that Saturday is a huge event. We can show how seamless the process is, how many people that we're really coming in contact with and really changing their lives, taking this life sentence off of their records and having it not only in the 5 states we're in, but all across the United States. It's something that needs to happen. It's something that doctors need to know about. There's no more stigma, so we can get research out there to bring medicine to our people that need it, make it more accessible, and get these people that have been convicted of these crimes that, again, people are purchasing the same plant across the country. It's just so, it's inane that this is still an issue today. And again, thank you all so much.
Dr. Paloma, I just out of curiosity, how did you get into cannabis? I mean, because you were just talking about it. I'm just curious, like for yourself, I don't know if you're MD or like you're in what area specialty, but how did you transition and like, this is your love and passion now?
It has always been my love and passion. I have the student loans to prove that I've gone through a lot of schooling. I do have my MD, but my graduate degree before that is actually in neuroscience. So I worked in labs for most of my career, and I've always been fascinated with, my honors thesis was on THC, but it's never been anything that I've learned about. So I'm paying all this money, and my career is something that we're taught is an addictive substance. People I went to medical school with asked me if I'm hiding my salary in the rafters. You know, there's such stigma associated with it. Still, it doesn't matter. You know, I went to some of the best educational institutions, and again, we aren't taught about the history of medical cannabis, the history of prohibition, the racist backbone which the industry is built in, and most importantly, the basic physiology of the endocannabinoid system that's really helping so many different disease states. please name me a pharmaceutical single drug agent that can treat 10 different conditions.
Yes.
So
no.
I love it.
That's well now we know, because I was just wondering, like, how'd you know, so that's really interesting in regards that your not only your where you were and then transition to the industry, but you can really from a firsthand perspective be able to talk to physicians and go, listen, I'm telling you firsthand, like, we need to be researching this, and that is key to what we do as an organization. I really want to talk about, you know, like, Jade, how do we duplicate this? How do we replicate a model? Not every state has a Miss Brave Boy she's progressive, she's energized, she sees the harm or what have you. So talk us through, like, when we're looking at, and if people out there want to do this in their own state, who are the people they should be getting involved in having conversation with initially when they're thinking about, I want to do an expungement clinic, I want to do something that gives back to my community?
So I would say partner with your local, a lot of police agencies, people don't know that, but a lot of police agencies, we've done an expungement fair with the police agency here, one of our entities, and we actually had it at one of their precincts, and it was a decent turnout. It was a really good turnout. We had one with a church here, a mega church here, so churches do them a lot, several mega churches here, I think 2 or 3 of them. We had expungement fair. Yep, we had expungement fair, the NAACP. A lot of times we partner with them. There's some of the partners there. There's some of the locations. So I would say some of your local entities, even some of your universities, because imagine how many students are on the campus that have possession citations. I even get those from the University of Maryland here or Bowie. I get those citations, or, you know, now a lot of them again because it's not illegal anymore. But
right.
Those cases where it's just college students with, you know, with weed on them and they're being charged and now they're in court. So I would even say, look into those universities. So look into your local entities, because a lot of people are starting to be aware of this. And maybe some of those entities can put a fire under those states' attorney's office or their local legislation and kind of tell them the importance of it, or have them come out and see there's community support. I would say look into a lot of community organizations and churches.
Yeah, and one thing about it is, contrary to popular belief, it ain't only the Black students that get popped, it's the white students as well. And so maybe it's when that one student who might be their dad or their uncle is, you know, assistant attorney general or, you know, speaker of the house or whatever. You say, listen, this only doesn't just help my community, it helps throughout. I mean, legalization, and Hope, you could talk about this. For us to have a conversation about legalization, we already started on the medical side, but we have about 3 or 4 different states in the northeast part of the country: New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Connecticut. They're on the verge of talking about an adult use legalization. How can we talk about that and not talk about just repairing the harm of people? Imagine being in school and got pinched for, you know, an ounce or a joint or whatever, and now you carry that on your record.
I mean, there are people now that are probably hearing about what's happening on the outside, and they're probably thinking that's crazy, you know,
crazy.
Like, right. Wow. You know, there's probably someone that's read a story about me that's like, that's insane, you know, like that's crazy that she's getting all this praise for it. And I mean, I feel that way sometimes too. So I feel like it's the least we can do. And Eric said it too. I mean, it's kind of like there are a lot of other things that need to happen to really, truly begin to right the wrongs that have happened. But I feel like expungement is like low-hanging fruit. It's the thing that we can begin to do today. We don't have to wait on legalization for it. And then when legalization does come in these states, and even here in Maryland, I think it needs to, you know, we need to go ahead and develop these automatic expungements, because a lot of people just like lazy, won't go through the process. And I say lazy in like the most forgiving way, you know, it's just in the most forgiving way, not in a harsh way, but you know, it's just, oh, I have to go do this, I have to do that, I have to hire an attorney, oh, it's $1,000, like, oh, right. All the things, you can't do it. But if it's just automatically expunging, you don't even have to think about it. I mean, I know me, look, I'm a forgetful person. So I'm not lazy, I just forget, you know, I'll be like, oh, I got to do all these steps. That's a lot of steps. Like, yeah, I did step 1, but I forgot to follow up, you know?
Jay, talk about why, you know, we in the cannabis industry, we've seen a lot of folks, even from like decriminalization as well, you know, decriminalization and expungement. We've seen it done a number of different ways in this industry. Most of the time it starts at the local level. and then you may see something happen, legislatively. But every now and then we see something from the executive branch that's just like a broad stroke, like, why is it? How does something like that happen? And why don't we see more states going that same route? Is it like controversial? Is it difficult? Like, what is it about that broad stroke of the pen that we don't see more of it? Why don't we see more of it?
Absolutely, and I tell people it all starts with who you have in office, right? What that person is, what their beliefs are, what they're a reflection of. So to some people, weed or marijuana is still taboo. It's still a drug, right? That's what it is to them. Just like marijuana, just like alcohol was decades ago, centuries ago. That's what weed is to them now. And you have a lot of people who are in office now or in leadership. They're not reflective of the people who have those charges, right? Just like the war on drugs, they're not reflective of us. They're not reflective of minorities. A lot of them are probably old enough to be our grandparents. So they're still in that mind frame. So that's why I tell people it starts with who's in office and who's surrounding them. And also, like you said, at a legislative level, because what we tell people all the time, and I've had so many judges say it, and Prince George's County has a really, really diverse group of open-minded progressive judges as well, because that's what people don't understand when they file for expungements and they come in front of us, particularly with drug cases that I've seen and drug charges. Even if I want to grant this expungement, and the judges even said it, we cannot, because the law says that this is not expungible. This has forever. So I have had cases when the judge and I have literally told the person, they're like, I just don't understand. I can't get a job. This has been on for 20 years. I did this and do that. And we're like, I am so sorry. This comes from the top. There is nothing we can do about it. There's nothing we can do. So it all starts with who's voted in office, who's in office, what the people around them look like, the mind transformations, because there are so many cases and people that I felt so bad for and empathetic for because they had paid their dues, they made a mistake, but there, for the grace of God, go I. It could have been any of us, and it is nothing I can do. It is nothing the judge can do about it.
Wow.
Y'all hear that? Voting season is coming up. In some many states, you can already vote right now.
Yes.
Yeah,
it's real.
We're going to have voters registration at the clinic. So if people are not yet registered, which I hope you're registered by now, but if you're not yet registered, there will be a table there, someone to walk you through the process, no excuses. And there'll be a little bit of voter education. If you're just like, so what's even on the ballot? They can talk to you a little bit about that, besides just the big guys that I'm sure you're already hearing about, but there's a lot of other things we're voting on right now, guys. So
absolutely. And the next step, or maybe not the next step, but a part of the whole expungement is this restorative right to vote. It's such an important thing. Florida just was in the news recently because you have Michael Bloomberg and somebody else raising millions of dollars to pay the fines that we talked about earlier of those folks so that they can register to vote. And of course, our president is not very happy about that component. So, I mean, there's so much work to be done. And, I'm Jade, I'm happy, you in the state's attorney's office, just for your support on this. It's just great just to have you a part of the discussion. And Vireo, you guys have a voice. And I think sometimes it's good to have, larger companies at the table as well, because you guys, you can get people's attention and in a way that sometimes the little guy, the small
that we can't.
Yeah, we just can't, so yeah.
I mean, no. So the most important thing, like, again, we walk away. So we've been having, so if you guys haven't known, we've been in conversation, talking with one another for the last 2, 3, 4 weeks, just planning this or what have you. And I made mention that we want to create a model. Like, you want to have something that, so that we don't have to wait for a certain week or time, that we create a model so that people want to go into their community and get engaged and be able to give back. And so, Paloma, I think from your takeaway, what has this experience been like for you? You've been on every single phone call. You've been on every single planning. You could be that company that's like, okay, here's a little change. Go ahead and do it, and then just put our name on it. But talk about even how it makes you feel, and even your colleagues within the organization, and how important this is for them to be a part of this.
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't want to ever be all talk. I'm a woman of color. This is important to Vireo, and I've never heard more feedback from the company. All the coworkers I work with are coming up. It's just praising this effort. And it's been, you know, and I'm going to have Jade doing these every weekend now, Jade. So everybody.
That, like, hold on.
I know. She's like, well, no, I don't want to say.
Because you know why? Because Jade is a powerhouse. Because let me tell you something. So shout out to Eddie Pounds. He just hit us up and said he's in the middle of with clients. So shout out to him. But it really is when, and Paloma, I'm going to bring you back in. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I'm so excited because it literally was connecting with Eddie, who's based in Maryland, who then said, let me make some phone calls. Jay comes in. She don't know me from a can of paint. She don't know. She doesn't know him. Miss Brayboy didn't know us from a can of paint. But it was almost like, I see you. I see your heart. I see the planning. I'm jumping on board. And I mean, it just kind of just came together in such a lovely way, and people donating their time. So I just wanted to make sure I make that statement. But yeah, Paloma, talk more about like, just, you know, the importance of being involved and not just saying, here's a couple of dollars and I'm out the door.
Right. This isn't a check off the list. This is a lifelong partnership. This is a lifetime commitment. Again, being in the cannabis industry, you can't just work in the cannabis industry. You have to be an advocate in the cannabis industry. It goes hand in hand. You can't be dispensing medication. You need to be supporting the history. You need to be telling people about it that might not know, whether it be a patient, whether it be a physician, whether it be someone that has never even heard of medical cannabis. And again, this is something that I hope that all the other MSOs in the country follow suit and do. It's not easy to go and put these on, but it's what we all should be doing. And, you know, again, once we do it once, it's not just a one-off. We're going to be replicating this in every state that we're in Maryland, which is a special place in my heart. And again, just partnering with people that are as passionate as you are, it makes it doesn't make it easy, but it makes it doable, and it makes it accessible to the people that need to have this on their front door.
Absolutely. So Hope, tell people, what can they expect tomorrow? Like, we don't have just, listen, y'all. So I want to make sure you understand. Yeah. Hope doesn't do just like you walk in. And let me say this: we are going to be safe. We're going to be social distance. We're gonna respect this COVID for what it is. Yeah. And we're going to protect you, and not only protect you, but protect ourselves. But Hope doesn't just give a little. She does it, and it's immaculate. And so talk to people. Not only if you have, you know, want to come for the expungement fair, and we're going to talk about how to get connected and how to sign up, but what can they expect tomorrow?
Definitely. So if you guys didn't know already, it is our 2-year anniversary of being in business at Mary and Main. Yay. So tomorrow is kind of like a big celebration about that. We've been celebrating all week. And tomorrow's kind of that big cumulative event. And the expungement clinic is definitely the star, the headliner. But we have some other things going on as well. So right now, as we speak, actually, we have a farmer's market going on in our parking lot. We do that every Friday from 12 to 4 in partnership with the Capital Market of 20743. In Prince George's County, and specifically Capitol Heights, is actually a food desert. So, you know, we are bringing fresh vegetables and produce and
it's amazing. It's
other
amazing.
Products. Thank you. Other locally made and manufactured products to our community. So yeah, that's happening right now from 12 to 4 in our parking lot. Then tomorrow, like I said, the expungement clinic is definitely the star of the show. And then we'll talk a little bit more about how you can get pre-registered for it. But we will have a voter registration table, and that table is being run by the Maryland Medical Cannabis Patient Association. Actually, They're sponsoring that table. They're running that. So they'll tell you, give you voter registration information, as well as help you register and voter education if you have questions about what's on the Maryland ballot. And then we're going to have free HIV testing by one of our partners, SLK Health Services, and they'll also be sponsoring free haircuts for the first, I think 25 participants. So that's really exciting. And they're going to be talking about their Free 99 initiative, which is a new way to talk about our sexual health status, because something else a lot of people don't know is Prince George's County leads in new HIV cases right now in the state of Maryland, and Capitol Heights, where we are, is leading in Prince George's County. So this is an important, something that we need. You need to know your status, and, the Free 99 initiative is a new way to talk about it, as well as a way to introduce PrEP. Sorry, I'm talking so long, guys, but it's a lot going on.
No, it's good. It's good
but
stuff.
PrEP is a medicine, a preventative care medicine that you can take that pretty much gives you a 99% chance of not catching HIV. So if you are sexually active, if you have more than one partner, you should be using this medicine. It is a lot of times free for you if you have health insurance. So they'll be talking about that tomorrow at SLK Health Services. So tomorrow is all about the Capitol Heights community, where we are from, where we're rooted. So I'm excited to offer all these services to you guys. It's a little different than how we normally do. It's normally more like fun, games, giveaways. This is
right. Listen, right now it's too serious sometimes. We have to really just hunker down and focus. What you guys don't understand, I shouldn't say you don't understand, because maybe you do, but I just want to reiterate the importance of connecting with your community and understanding. Hope just ran down 4 things that are important to her community, where she resides in her zip coded area. Do you guys understand that from a longevity, she's not in this game for, a year, 2 years, 5 years. She's here to build legacy, to pass it down to her children, who pass it down to their children's children. And you do that by creating brand loyalty. Brand loyalty is when you give and don't expect anything back in return, and people become vested in your brand. And just kudos to you, Hope, and what you're doing, because it's super special. And the healthcare aspect, the food desert aspect is critical in our communities. And I know, I'm sure, Jay, you may have some to piggyback on just in this county, because this is your county. This is where you serve as in your office capacity.
Absolutely. And it's, that's why I am happy to do this. I'm happy to be on board. I try to, I encourage other state's attorneys to come out and volunteer and help us. We have a few other ones coming out, because these individuals, they are residents of our counties, right? They're our neighbors. There are people who work at the stores when we go out to be served. There are people who serve us in those fields. There are doctors, there are everyone's not what people think a criminal will look like. They're doctors, lawyers, are different people. So we want these people to be productive. We want a productive society and community. And one thing people have to remember is that when people go to jail, they don't come out, a perfect person or none. A lot of them come out angrier and more violent because they've been stewing around more experienced criminals, and they're upset, and they come out and they re-offend, right? Because they already have something on their record, or they already have their name on case search. They already have a point or two against them. So we want to help make them productive members of society. So we just want to make sure we tell you tomorrow when you come, we would like for you to have your case number, but if you don't, you can go look on MarylandCaseSearch.com, MarylandJudiciaryCaseSearch.com, put your first and last name. Some people are surprised. Some people pull up 10, 20 things they didn't even know were on case search. Oh. Yeah, we get that a lot. Some people.
Does that happen where people have cases or a charge and they don't even know what it is?
It'll be like 50. I've seen 50 before. I've seen some that are older than I am. I've seen some cases from 1971 up until like 2007 on one person, or 2020. So a lot of those individuals don't, they were in and out of the system. Doesn't mean everything was a conviction or guilty. And a lot of that stuff that was guilty is expungable because it's so old or it's no longer a crime. So we actually sit there and take the hour or 2 hour. I've taken 2 hours on one person and went down every single charge and got maybe 20 of them cleared up out of 30, but that's better.
Wow.
Right? That's most of their charges. Yeah. So a lot of people are not even aware of that. Make sure you bring an ID or some form of identification. We're only doing Maryland cases, so we can't do cases in other jurisdictions, but make sure you can print the stuff on case search, or at least kind of look on there and write some of the cases down. We can kind of work with you. We'll have our computers on set and can print some things out for you. Also, you cannot be on probation in any jurisdiction, be it Maryland or anywhere else. You can't get an expungement if you're on active probation. And if you have an open case or pending case in any jurisdiction, Maryland, DC, any other state, you cannot apply for an expungement either. You are ineligible for expungement with open cases. So.
Okay, so no open cases. You said no open cases, no, what was the
probation.
No probation in Maryland or even outside of Maryland. You got to be clear. But just think about, I mean, you know, and then there's certain, that was the other thing I was going to remind people. When you're talking about getting expunged, and if you go, well, they didn't expunge my record, because it's based upon the expungement law in each state. And each state has, right, Jade, if you want to explain that a little bit.
Yes, I'll say that. And unfortunately, Maryland, I'm originally from Michigan. Maryland has some of the strictest expungement laws I have ever seen. I've lived in different states, with college in Georgia. These are literally some of the most extreme laws I've ever seen. In Maryland, felonies, unfortunately, are not really expungible. The only felony that is, and that's the legislation just changed in 2017, 2018, which I'm happy to hear about, is possession with intent to distribute. And that is after 15 years. That's the only felony that's expungible in the state of Maryland. Also, there are only about 10 misdemeanors that are expungible. Some of them are second-degree assault, drug possession charges, trespassing, alcohol charges, stuff like that, failure to obey, reckless, that type of stuff. Some of that stuff is expungible. A lot of it has time frames. But remember that if anything was ever not guilty or entered nolle prosequi, meaning we drop the charges, that stuff is immediately expungible. We can have you do a waiver form tomorrow and you can get that off your record immediately. You don't have to pay for that, the $35. That type of stuff. If you're given a probation before judgment, if the 3 years have passed, that is expungible. We can take care of that. So some of the things have a waiting time frame, but felonies, unfortunately, are not expungible, with the exception of maybe first-degree burglary, I believe, and possession with intent to distribute.
Now, Jay, I'm about to ask you the same question I asked Dr. Paloma. Girl, you's a powerhouse. How'd you get into law? And then I was like, good Lord, I love it. I just love women that are just know they stuff. You know your business, girl. I love it. How'd you get into law? I mean, you look very youthful and young, but so expert at what you do and so passionate about what you do. Tell us, if you don't mind, just sharing a little bit.
Sure, thank you. I actually fell into law. So my degree is in broadcast journalism. And while I was in college, I was like, I want to do something that's a little bit more impactful to help my community. I'm from Detroit, which is a minority community and mainly impoverished. So,
yes.
You know, only few of us make it out. So I wanted to give back. So I decided to go to law school. Then I worked for Congressman Elijah Cummings. I did an internship here on the Hill. And then also Brooks had a position for a law clerk. So I became a law clerk while I was taking the bar exam. Then
okay.
I was going to roll out. I thought I was going to roll out. And Ms. Alsa Brooks, who is now the first Black county executive in Prince George's County, Maryland, or in Maryland in general, she offered me the opportunity to start the program. I was telling you about the Back on Track program that Kamala Harris originally started. And I said, okay, I don't consider myself a traditional prosecutor. I think I would be a non-traditional prosecutor. So that is something I would be interested in. So I decided to stay, and I'm happy I did. So I'm a non-traditional prosecutor. Unfortunately, not everyone is as progressive, but you know, everybody.
Yes.
Prosecutors are less progressive, and that's okay. You have to have some that are less tolerant. That's okay. But I just so happen to be a more progressive one.
Well, I'm telling you what, we're gonna have you when we can finally reach out and touch one another. We're looking at conferences that we want to put on. We definitely want you to be a part of it, because it's so critical, even for other prosecutors and state attorney's office, because I think sometimes sometimes people want to do the right thing, but it's just something that's so different and new or whatever that you just kind of breaking people out of their like kind of comfort zone. And so I want to make sure that you talk to, impress upon everybody how important it is for that wraparound type of support for these individuals. And then, how we as M4MM, we're passionate about figuring out how do we give people support after the expungement, because that's so important as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, before I got into the cannabis industry, I was working at an environmental engineering firm doing community engagement. And we had a workforce development program in which we worked with a lot of folks who, recently came out of jail and so on. And one of the most difficult things for them was, again, paying those fines to even get their license back. I had jobs lined up for them. I mean, literally lined up for them. And the employer would say, hey, if they can't get a driver's license, I can't hire them. And they were going to hire them to work on, the I-4 project here in Orlando, Florida. I-4 is a main corridor, interstate that connects Central Florida here in the state of Florida. So being able to work on that is a huge project. I mean, multi-year project and so on. And they couldn't hire them because they couldn't get their driver's license back. So, and as Jade has already mentioned, they come out with all types of anger, issues, or other mental health issues, or even just health issues. There's so much that could, because again, we don't treat our incarcerated individuals very fairly or nicely. There's been reports about, how they get poor, food and nutrition in jail. So when you come out of jail, we have a lot of restoring to do. And so, our project Clean Slate, which we've, asked the state of Florida for funding for over the past couple of years, and it hasn't gone through, but we're going to, remain diligent in doing that, because we know it's important that, beyond just expunging the records, that we're providing them with a support group and a community to come and join. We're providing them with new opportunities for training and development so that they can actually get jobs, whether it be in cannabis or not, but being able to get certifications that they can go onto a job site with now.
Yes.
Those things become absolutely critical, so that, or access to affordable housing, access to good nutrition so that they can feed themselves and their family. Those things all become absolutely vital if we want to decrease recidivism and having these folks go back into the system.
Yep.
And so, like I said before, the expungement piece is certainly that tip of the iceberg, but that's when we have to rely on our community infrastructure, whether it be churches, a lot of the groups that Jade mentioned, NAACP, other, groups, Minorities for Medical Marijuana, companies like Marion, Maine, who understand that they, have to be a part of rebuilding communities and not just doing business in these communities. So
yep.
It is absolutely vital. And I encourage anybody who's listening, who's thinking about doing expungement in your city or your state, think about the expungement piece. Absolutely. Work with your state attorney's office, work with your local prosecutors and attorneys and so on.
Yep.
Call M4MM.
Yep.
But then also reach out to the community at hand, those stakeholders there, to talk about what you can do to help those individuals beyond the expungement as well.
Hey, Hope, are we doing medical cards during, do we have a physician? Because one thing about it is also, everybody that's listening, and if people have been incarcerated, and if you're coming out, and Dr. Paloma, you could talk about this, you do suffer from some type of PTSD, being in that type of environment or what have you. When you're coming out, and if you are wanting to partake in cannabis because it makes you feel better, if there's a health and wellness perspective, let's get you a card. Let's get you legal. Let's get you the support that you need. And M4MM will help with supporting that. And Dr. Paloma, you could talk about that, the PTSD aspect, and how those people, individuals, like, it's real, and cannabis can help.
Cannabis can absolutely help. People coming out of jail suffer from a bevy of mental health issues, including depression, anxiety, PTSD, amongst others. In the state of Maryland, for recommending providers, there's actually a caveat that says if the provider believes that cannabis is a good medication for their patient, whereas in other states, the only two mental health issues that are qualifying conditions are usually anxiety and PTSD.
And PTSD, yep.
So when you come out of jail, whether or not you're on a bevy of psychiatric medications that the prison physician is prescribing to you, you sometimes no longer have access to these medications. That's one issue. Another issue is absolutely PTSD, and cannabis has been shown again and again to help with PTSD, whether it be the nightmares that it reduces REM sleep, it decreases the hypervigilance or anxiety that many of these post-prison prisoners are feeling. So again, you can't even get your card if you have these charges in a lot of cases. So having the accessibility available to these people that are now have this expunged for their record is of the utmost importance. So we're going to take this show on the road. It's not just going to be in Maryland. So
yeah, I forgot about that. If you don't, because there's certain things, if you have on your record, you may not be able to get a card. Is that correct? Oh, man.
But Jade, are you able to get a card if you are on probation as well, or is that also a disqualifying?
I'm not sure the laws of the cards. I didn't even know you couldn't get a card without.
I don't know if you can.
I don't think you have to do a background check to get a
medical card.
But I guess my question is more so about if would that be a potential violation of parole? Is I guess where I'm trying to figure out that space there.
Yeah, so we do have a lot of the conditions of most people, I would say the majority of the cases I've seen are that you have to drug test, and you have to drug test
right.
And if you do test positive for any substance, yes, that is a violation of your parole. So I have seen that. That's a lot of the cases. And I would say I can count on one hand how many times I've seen the person say, I'm testing, you know, I have a card for this. Now, granted, a lot of them probably do need cards for that, but they don't get them. So, when we come in, you're testing positive for an illegal substance that you're not supposed to have.
Right, and if they had a card, then maybe that would give them a reprieve.
Yes, if they had a card, then
you know what?
Because you have a card to use it. Yeah, as long as there's nothing else in your substance, as long as it's just that. But I have not seen them come in with a card.
So they are able to, if they have a card, legally, you know, I guess they would fail that part of the drug test, and they would potentially be okay if they had a card, is what I'm hearing.
Yes,
correct?
so in my Back on Track program that I do for the drug dealers, you aren't supposed to use substances, so you have to test positive. However, I had a participant that came in, and this participant had a card. And we have drug court as well. A lot of jurisdictions have what's called diversion courts and problem-solving courts. We have a drug court, and it was actually a participant, and it was the first time I've seen it, and the judge has been the judge there for 20 years, and the first time he's seen it. But the participant, the whole notion behind drug court is that you have a substance abuse problem, and that is why you're in drug court, because you committed a crime while you were probably under the influence. But he came in with the card, and the judge let him in the card. Now, the only thing he can test positive for would be marijuana, not the
THC.
Right.
Or, addicted to that, contributed to the crime he committed. But yes, he was able to still, you know, because he had the card, he was able to remain in drug court.
We needed another information campaign, because I can guarantee you very few people even know that.
A little known fact, to work in cannabis in Maryland, you have to take a drug test and you have to get a background check. If you have a medical card, you can test positive for THC. But if you don't have a medical card, you cannot test positive for THC. And you do have to pass a background check. So even in cannabis, you could potentially be barred from working in the industry if you have a minor offense.
Yeah.
Isn't that a slap in the face?
You don't work in the industry.
Hey, not a slap in the face.
That's why we say people are incarcerated, come out, and they looking around, and like, I pose this question. I'm like, you know, and to my white brothers and sisters out there, I see y'all, but I pose this question to you guys, because I say, how would you feel if you went to jail for something and you came back out and and you were disproportionately targeted, and you come back out and the same people that targeted you are now making millions of dollars?
The same exact people, right?
Yeah.
So again, you guys, I know we're getting around to our time that we got to wrap up. Man, this has been so impactful, so important. Let's walk down. Hope, give everybody your website. It's not too late. If you want to, we want you to pre-register. Please try to pre-register. It'll help us out so we can plan accordingly.
Definitely.
If you want to volunteer, it's not too late. Go send a comment to Mary and May Hope. I'll let you give everybody how to contact, and then I'll have our 1-800 number. And then Jada, are we good with attorneys? Do we need some more attorneys? Because maybe we got an attorney out here that wants to volunteer.
I think we can always take more.
We can take more, right?
100 people, so I think we can always take more.
Exactly. So Hope, I'll let you talk about the website and how to contact and how to get registered.
So you can find Mary and Main at www.maryandmain.com, and that is MARYANDMAIN. And there is information about the expungement clinic on our website, but also you can head over to our social channels. It's just at Mary and Main for all of our socials, where you'll find other information. If you're on Instagram, the link to pre-register for the expungement clinic is in our bio right now. So head over there, pre-register for the clinic. And, you know, we'll see you at the store from 11 to 5 p.m. It's right
tomorrow.
Tomorrow,
yeah,
11 to 5 p.m.
Dr. Paloma's going to be there. Dr. Paloma, are you excited about tomorrow?
I am thrilled.
Yeah.
Make sure you wear your mask. Do not come if you're sick. Keep 6 feet distance. We'll be taking temperatures for people coming in the expungement clinic. Safety is number one.
Hope anybody doing medical cards tomorrow?
There'll be a doctor there on site that is not associated with Mary Main. I just have to.
Yes. Okay. So listen, guys, if you need a card, let's try to figure this stuff out, man. That's what we're here for. I'm excited. If you have any questions, you want to talk to someone live, 877-900-0832, 877-900-0832. That's the M4MM line. You can find us on M4MM United. Man, E, this has been one fantastic show. I'm so excited about tomorrow.
Y'all women are absolute beasts in this space, and I love it.
And listen, and we're playing bingo tonight, so I need folks. Listen, just a quick time out. Tonight, we're playing M4MM Bingo. Go to m4mmbingo.com. Mr. Bernard Noble, who was featured in the film The Grass is Greener, he was incarcerated for 8 years for 2 joints. He's being honored tonight. He's speaking tonight. All proceeds of all the cards, the bingo cards that you purchase will go to him. We don't get anything of it. 100% goes to him because guess what? He was released in 2018 and he's still struggling. He still needs support, but he is such an advocate. He wants to use his voice, use his experience. He was incarcerated with, I think he had 8 kids at the time, and was the caregiver and had to leave his children. And so now being out and having to now just readjust, and he's still readjusting, and we're so happy to have him. So tonight, M4MM Bingo is Black Cannabis Week. It's been, Black Cannabis Week has been off the chain. M4MM Bingo. We got an expungement clinic going on tomorrow. It's free. Make sure y'all know it's free. E, wrap us up and take us home.
Yeah, brother. I mean, absolutely. You guys are phenomenal. Thank you all for joining us today. All of our guests, you guys are each in your own right, just blazing trails, and I'm just excited to be amongst you all today. For all of our listeners, again, definitely go out and get your bingo card. Even if you can't make it tonight, go and buy a couple cards. Again, when we talked about expungement and the wraparound services, this is M4MM's way of wrapping our arms around Mr. Bernard Noble, who really and truly needs the support. Again, he's, just starting this journey of entering society, and we want to do our part to help out. And so we need you. Thank you guys for joining us every week and listening to us. We know we're getting a following from all over the place now. So thank you guys. Send us emails. Let us know what you want to hear about, who you want to see, who you want to hear from, and we'll do what we can to get them on. But as always, my message to you, go home this weekend, love on yourself, love on your family, get some rest. We got work to do, and I'll see y'all on Monday. All right.
Bye, guys. See ya.